A major new development in Ontario provincial politics, one that could significantly impact the race for the next leader of the Progressive Conservative Party. Conservative MPP Randy Hillier says he has evidence that Patrick Brown violated the Members' Integrity Act. Hillier has released a statement detailing his complaint about Brown to Ontario's Integrity Commissioner.
Patrick Brown has been engaged in dirty and crooked politics for too long in this province, and people have now found substantial, significant evidence of his wrongdoing, and we're bringing it to the proper agencies to have it fully investigated and that due process is completed.
Hillier alleges that payments on Brown's home are much higher than what he could cover given his declared income, and that Brown has failed to disclose other income. He also alleges that Brown has failed to report gifts of international travel. CTV News has reached out to Brown for comments, but we have not heard back. Brown resigned as PC leader after two women outlined sexual misconduct allegations to CTV News. He has denied all allegations and has launched a campaign to get his old job back. CTV News stands by its story. Now let's take a look outside the party headquarters in Toronto, where Brown is expected to arrive shortly and meet with party officials. The party has yet to sign off on Brown's candidacy, and he still needs to be vetted. Several people, as you can see there, have turned up holding a rally in support of Brown. Now, Chris Cochrane is an associate professor of political science at the University of Toronto. This is quite the drama inside that party.
It's unprecedented. This is a full-blown civil war on the eve of an election that they were expected to win. There are people within the party devoted full-time to discrediting the person who was their leader just a few weeks ago. On the other hand, a leader who had just recently resigned because of allegations on the grounds that he couldn't be a distraction for his party has now thrown himself back into the race, which is just further deep into the divide, and it is quite a mess for this party.
When you first heard about Hillier's official complaint, what did you think about that?
It didn't surprise me. It was clear that at some point, Patrick Brown came to the realization that whoever was sort of working against him was working against him from within the party. And I think his realization probably almost immediately after being removed as leader, he wasn't given much time. Then there was a story of the release of the conference call or an audio of the conference call, and now this. So it seems to me that he's been motivated by that. And it's also obvious that this party simply isn't big enough for the both of them. There's no way that Patrick Brown and Randy Hillier can stay in this party together given what's transpired.
Yeah, it's one thing to have it out for somebody, but this is like a forensic auditing of his personal finances almost when you read that statement that he's filed.
Yeah, and Randy Hillier shoots from the hip, and he's always been that style of politician. He's somebody who doesn't sound like a typical politician. He sort of says what he feels, so he's different. He's very much in the sort of populist vein of conservative politics. The issue, though, here for the party, and it gets to questions of whether or not the nomination committee will approve Brown's candidacy for leader, the issue here is that you have a candidate who was never very popular with caucus. He was overwhelmingly not the favored candidate by caucus when he ran for the leadership, but he was elected by the members with a considerable majority of the support. So the narrative that Patrick Brown is spinning here is that this is the group of people that never wanted him in the first place, pushing him out in a sort of coup at the very last minute. Now, whether or not there's any truth to that at all, the fact is it is a consistent narrative and people are buying into it, and the party is deeply, deeply divided now because of it.
Well, we are 107 days away from the election. Wouldn't there be voices in the party saying, hey, wait a second, we got to be on the same team here?
Yeah, this is absolutely remarkable. I mean, this is a party that in the past you thought, well, they could have won if they just sat on their hands and rode out the election. And here it was almost inconceivable that they would find a way to lose this election, and they're doing their absolute best. And there's some polls that say the Conservatives are doing quite well, or their support has even gone up. But the issue with those polls is that negatives often count more in politics than positives. So people are often more animated by things they don't like than by things they do like. And when there's no leader for a political party, or even better, 4 potential candidates for a political party to be leader, then when people are asked what they think of the Conservative Party, they can imagine their preferred candidate as the leader. But the fact is it'll only be one, and once that one is chosen, anybody who doesn't support him or her may turn off against the party, and it's just inconceivable that they'll be able to carry this level of support into an election.
If he gets the thumbs up from the party in terms of his candidacy, how does that affect the leadership race, do you think?
Well, it turns the entire leadership race into exactly what they wanted it to be, which was an effort to move beyond Patrick Brown, to talk about about what the party would look like going into the election against Kathleen Wynne, into a discussion of Patrick Brown and his position in the party. It's inconceivable that he would win. I could imagine that there may well be a path to victory. He's got a lot of supporters that he brought into the party. Questions are raised about the integrity of those memberships now, but he may well end up as a second choice for a lot of people. On the other hand, it is certainly going to be more of a challenge for him this time than it was last time, not only because he faces these allegations, but also because the segments of the Conservative membership that he was able to win in the last election are spoken for by other candidates. Doug Ford is a populist. Tanya Greenwich-Allen is an outstanding representative for social conservatives. They have Christine Elliott and now Carolyn Mulroney as somebody in from the outside who's also very polishable and a very electable candidate. So it's not certainly a clear path for Patrick Brown.
If he gets the thumbs down from the party and his candidacy is not approved, does that hurt the party, especially since he was chosen by so many members? Could they sit on their hands for this campaign?
I think that's the real risk. At this point, there's no good scenario. There's no clear path for the party. If they let him run, then he's a distraction and the election becomes about him, which is exactly what they don't want. If they don't let him run, then none of the other candidates get a chance to beat him. And his supporters, and even if it's, say, 20%, maybe it's 15%, if his supporters feel that he was never given a fair shake, not only at the initial opportunity to sort of defend himself, but then also for an opportunity to present himself to the members and say, look, I need your support. What do you think? What's your judgment? So if his supporters stay home, well, all of the poll numbers you see for the Conservatives, which point upwards, all of a sudden put them back behind the Liberals, behind perhaps even the NDP, and remarkably, this fiasco could well carry them into really disastrous territory after the election.
Remarkably indeed. Chris, thank you very much.
My pleasure.